back with another PC build. This time I'm doing the ultimate 1440p gaming PC build for under £900. So what you see in front of you is the parts for what I believe is the ultimate 1440p gaming PC. So with this PC you should be able to run all games at high settings at 1440p without any problems and still get decent frame rates. Like, you won't be able to play like the most recent ones like Witcher 3 at high FPS, but all the rest of the games you should be able to play them with very good frame rates without any problem. So to start off with the build I have here is the by the way, I'll put a link to the PC parts picker list in the description below, so you can check it out if you want to build the same PC. And let's start with the CPU that I chose. So for this build I chose the Intel Core i5-4690K. It's a 3.5 GHz quad-core CPU, which comes out at £178, which is a very good price for the money. And I would suggest getting all the parts from Amazon. So the link I'll have will be for all the parts will be linked for Amazon. So as I said in previous videos, buying all your PC components from the same site is more convenient, and you might be able to get more at the same day, so you can start your build at the same time, and you don't have to try and track deliveries from all different kind of sites. So okay, let's go on the PC. So people might tell you that you need an i7 for gaming, but you don't really need anything more than an i5. So i5 is perfect for gaming, and the gaming is mostly done by the GPU, so the processor doesn't have doesn't make as big of a difference in gaming as this GPU. So an i5 processor like the 4690K will be perfect. It's a quad core, so it satisfies the requirements for the latest games like Witcher 3, which don't technically need 4 cores, but a 4 core is preferable. It has 6 megabytes of cache, which is good enough for us, and it comes on the LGA 1150 socket, so we can pair it with a nice Z97 board. And it's the K, sorry, I forgot to mention, it's the K version, so you can overclock it, and if you want to get extra free performance, as I would put it, you can overclock this CPU with a good cooler, like up to maybe 4.5 gigahertz, but it's up to you. You don't necessarily need to overclock the CPU, but it will give you a little bit of extra performance. And this is it for the CPU. And if you do plan on overclocking, then you would need a good CPU cooler. And for this I've chosen the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. So this is one of the most popular CPU coolers out there, and some people might tell you that you need all-in-one cooling or water cooling to cool a CPU, but you generally don't. So air coolers is more than enough to cool. It's more than capable for cooling a CPU, even if you overclock it. So you can, with a Hypermaster 212 EV, you should be able to get a very decent overclock on an i5 processor, as it's much more efficient and requires less wattage to operate, so the temperatures will not go as high as, for example, AMD CPUs, which tend to get a bit more hotter. So air cooler is more than enough. You don't need an all-in-one cooling. And if you do decide on all-in-one cooling, then I would suggest the minimum you go for is a 240mm radiator one, as a 120mm doesn't really make an extra difference. The Cooler Master could beat out all of the all-in-one coolers up to the Corsair's 850 H80i, sorry. So if you do want the extra cooling and you do want an all-in-one cooling, then you can all-in-one cooler. Then the minimum I would suggest is a 240mm radiator one, like the Corsair's H100i. And that's it for the CPU cooler. So you don't need anything more than this. It'll be perfect. Next is the graphics card. So for the graphics card, I've chosen Z97 board because that is one of the best ones you can get right now. And this is the Gigabyte GA Z97X Gaming 5. So Gigabyte makes it's one of the biggest motherboard manufacturers and one of the best in my opinion. It's up there with Asus. So an Asus or a Gigabyte motherboard I would recommend either one, but other brands like AceRock or MSI sometimes do pretty good motherboards, but for this build one of the Gigabyte's GA Z97X Gaming 5. So this is a very good motherboard. It has 4 RAM slots, DDR3 RAM slots. It does have support for USB 3.0 and does have onboard video, so if you're into that and you want some onboard video, then it supports it. It does have 8+2 phase power delivery, so it's more than good enough for overclocking our chip. And it does have support socket DLG1150 and does support SLI and Crossfire, so if in the future you want to go for an SLI setup or a Crossfire setup, or you can do either one. So in my opinion, this is one of the best boards right now, and I would very much suggest that you get this one if you're buying this CPU, if you're making this build. So for RAM, I went with 8 gigs instead of 16 gigs because 8 gigs is more than enough. You don't need 16 gigs for gaming. If you're just gaming, 8 gigs is more than enough. And if you plan on doing content creation or video editing, then I would suggest getting more RAM, but 8 gigs is plenty enough. And I've chosen the G.Skill's Ripjaws X RAM. So this is a very good 1600 MHz RAM. It has Cas9, so it's pretty tight timings, and it's overall very good RAM. So, but any RAM from a good reputable manufacturer will be enough. Will be good enough for the build, as it doesn't really affect gaming performance. So any frequency, and if you can check out videos online that show that the RAM frequency doesn't really affect gaming at all, or the difference is negligible. So if you find a good deal on 8 gigs of RAM from a good manufacturer, then I would suggest getting that. But with this build I chose the one from G.Skill, since they're one of the best manufacturers. And next it's the storage. So in this build, since it's a higher end build, managed to fit in a 250 gig SSD. So this is the Samsung's A50 EVO. So it'll be more than enough for installing an operating system and a few games. So if you're planning on getting any sort of PC, it doesn't matter the budget, I would suggest getting an SSD, because the performance difference compared to a hard drive is you just have to experience it. It gives you like super fast restart time, boot times, transfer times, so you can copy stuff, and the transfer rate will be a lot higher. And you do get the read and write speeds of these SSDs are like over 500, so 500 megs a second. So it's one of the best SSDs you can get. Samsung makes very good SSDs, and it's 250 gigs, so it's plenty of storage. And yeah, if you want extra storage or extra capacity, if you find 250 gigabytes is not enough for you, then you can buy a 1 terabyte hard drive in addition to this, like the Caviar Blue, which is very good. Or you can find one from an old PC maybe that you have, and just use that as a mass storage device. But you definitely need a SSD for your operating system, as it's gonna increase its speed, and also some loading times in games like Battlefield 4 or games that have long loading times. This is gonna improve that. And yeah, so you can get an SSD from other manufacturers. It doesn't have to be Samsung, but I believe Samsung is one of the best ones. Like you can get one from Crucial or Kingston. They make pretty good SSDs, but yeah, it's up to your choice. But if you go with this build, then I would suggest getting the Samsung one. And next we have the graphics card, which is the most important thing in a gaming PC build, in my opinion. Or it's what's driving your the graphics of the game. So this is where you need to spend the most money, in your PC build, or in a gaming PC build. And for this I chose the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 970. This is the G1 Gaming Edition, so it has a nice back plate that's gonna protect it from droopings, and since it is a pretty long card, it does have 3 fans on it, so it get extra performance. And this card, the 970, is one of the best ones and one of the best budget cards for 1440p gaming. So this card will be able to play all games at high settings at 1440p without any problems, so you get solid frame rates like 60 FPS. And if you're planning on doing 1440p gaming, then this is one of the best cards you can get on a budget right now. And as well, as you might have heard in recent news, it only has 3.5 gigs of effective VRAM, so but that's not gonna hurt its performance, as most games don't really use more than 3.5 gigahertz of memory, even in 1440p gaming, especially if they're well optimized, so this shouldn't be a problem. And it's just an overall very good card for the money, and I would very much suggest the GTX 970. And if you really want your 4 gigs of VRAM, then the other option will be the R9 290 or the 290X, which are similarly priced and give the 4 gigs of effective memory on a higher memory bus, so you get a bit of extra bandwidth, but it doesn't really affect performance in games that much. So this has a 256-bit memory bus, so that's more than enough for gaming, and it's one of the best cards you can get right now, even if you do 1440p gaming. Next we have the case. So for this build I chose the NZXT H440 case in red and black color configuration, since we're doing a sort of a red and black build. I thought I would go with a red and black case, and this is one of the best cases you can get right now, and it's on par with the Fractal Design Define R5, as it does have the noise dampening material on the side panels and top panels, so it has the same silent performance as the R9 the Define R5, sorry. And it's overall a very good case from NZXT, and it's gonna support a graphics card, even though it might block a few hard drive bays, so you need to be careful with that, since the GPU we've chosen for this build is pretty long. But you do have it's gonna fit all our components in. It's a very good looking, minimalistic looking case, so I would very much suggest you get that, or if you do want the Define R5, then that's another very good alternative. And next we need something to power our components, and for this is the power supply. And for this build I chose the Corsair CX 750 watt modular power supply, or semi-modular. It's 8+ bronze certified, so you get that 8+ efficiency. It comes from Corsair, which is one of the best manufacturers of power supplies, and it is semi-modular. You do so only the 24 pin and 8 pin connectors are attached, and the rest of them are modular, so you can reduce cable clutter, and it's gonna make a much better cable management. It is 750 watts, which is a bit of an overkill for this system, but in the future, if you want to add another 970, then this should be enough for SLI configuration. And it's a very good case. At the moment it's a very good price, so it's £70, and I would very much suggest getting at least 750 watt power supply at the moment. That is if you're planning on SLI in the future. And if you don't have no plans of going for an SLI configuration, then something like a 600 watt power supply will be more than enough, or even 500 watts. But since the 970 is a very efficient card and it its TDP is quite low even under load, but getting more wattage would be preferable. Even if you're not doing SLI, I would suggest like something like 750 watts. So if you plan on overclocking, since that will increase the consumption, power consumption, so I would suggest getting also getting, if you're not getting this power supply, getting something from a good manufacturer. Of a good manufacturer, I would suggest the EVGA. They've been doing pretty good power supplies, and Antec, Seasonic, they're also pretty good at making power supplies, and would not suggest anything that's under 80 plus efficiency. So as you could face some problems with that, and you also need to be careful of the current on each voltage row. So and if you buy the power supply is one of the main components in your PC build, since if the power supply goes, you could take out the whole system with it, so CPU, GPU. So you really need to be careful. You need to spend money on this power supply. You shouldn't go for the cheapest one you can get. So one that's A+ bronze certified that's come from a reliable manufacturer. Corsair will be preferable. And this is it for the build, guys. So hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you click the if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and stay subscribed to my channel, or subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And I'll leave links to the PC parts picker list, PC parts picker list in the description below, as well as some alternatives you can do if you don't some alternatives to the parts. And thank you for watching.